Tuesday afternoon, everyone. Welcome back down to my library and my set that you guys haven't seen in quite some time. Yes, I'm back at my Stephen King set. So that means I get to talk about a book review. Guys, I'm very happy to let you know that I finally finished Dark Tower number 3, The Wastelands. And I finished this on Saturday morning. And I've been processing my thoughts and feelings. And I'm going to give you a synopsis here, what I liked and disliked about this novel. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. The Dark Tower 3, The Wastelands, was released in 1991. So, this is a Scribner edition that was re-released in 2016. And all my Dark Tower books are in this format. And I've always liked the floppiness and the font size. So that helps out a little bit. But I'm rambling. So, this takes place after the events of the Drawing of the Three, and we have Eddie and Susanna with Roland. They're roaming through the Dark Tower world. I'm going to get a lot of hate. Leave me alone. I'm going to try my best here. But anyway, this starts off where they are going through the wilderness and they come across a robotic bear. And that first chapter runs up to 117. And there's hardly anything going on in the first half of this book. And that's kind of like a strong opinion that I have. But I will say the second half of this book really picks up. But when you finally get to chapter 5, which is Bridge and City, that is literally the entire storyline of this book. So essentially, when Roland, Eddie, and Susanna go through the world, they actually come across Jake again, because Roland summons him with his Jedi mind tricks, I guess. And Jake comes into the fold and he rejoins the quartet. And I will say, when they do get to Lud, it's just like a city filled with elderly people that are fearing the coming of Blaine the Mono, which is like a sentient train. And chapter 5 was easily my favorite part of this entire book. It's obviously the longest. So there's a lot that goes on in that part. Jake gets kidnapped by Gasher And we also meet the TikTok man, which his storyline wasn't really resolved, but I'll get into why pretty soon. But then we finally get into Blaine the Mono, which is just a monorail that loves riddles. And this train can take you anywhere, and Roland's quartet wants to ride it to the Dark Tower, which is still about like 7,000 miles or 8,000 wheels. I sound like a lunatic like describing this book because I have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's true. This thing is super, super weird. But it is very easy to read at times. But you just have no idea what the hell is going on half the time. And that is that's what's interesting about this series. It's filled with mystery and intrigue. So, the way this thing wraps up is really frustrating because it ends on a literal cliffhanger. And I gotta say, I'm not gonna go right into Wizard and Glass after this thing. I'm gonna take a break. But for a 600-page novel, you only have one chapter that is interesting. At times, this was a good story, but once it built up, it can get very, very complicated. So, still a pretty good book. I just want this to make sense, is what I'm trying to say. But hey, it's Stephen King. Some of the times his stories are super, super strange. And The Dark Tower is his magnum opus. So it's just filled with strangeness. But I really did enjoy this book overall. And I would honestly give this a 4-star because it ends on a cliffhanger and it literally leaves you wanting more. My favorite entry in the series thus far is Drawing of the Three. But we'll see what happens when I continue my journey to the Dark Tower. So, those are my scattered brain thoughts on the Wastelands. I tried my best, but I still feel like I'm talking in a foreign language here. But those are my sort of thoughts. But moving on to the next two books that I want to read from Stephen King. And they're not going to happen until probably as soon as next month or April. But I got some shorter books here. The next book I'm going to read from him is Roadwork. And this is part of the Bachman books. And I'm going to read the back of this. It's all coming to an end for Barton Dawes. The city's Highway 784 extension is in the process of being constructed right across town and inexorably through every aspect of Bart's existence. Whether it's about to barrel over the laundry plant where he makes a living, or soon to smash through the very home where he makes a life. But as a result, something's been happening inside Bart's head that a heartless local bureaucracy isn't prepared for. A complete and irrevocable burnout of the mental circuit breaker that keeps a mild-mannered person from turning to violent means. As the wheels of progress and the demolition crew continued unabated throughout Bart's neighborhood, he's not about to give everything up without a fight. As a matter of fact, he's ready and waiting to ignite an explosive confrontation with the legislative forces gathered against him. I heard that this is a very, very bleak story. So, I definitely can't wait to dive into this. It's a little beat up, but it's still readable to me. So that is Roadwork, Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King. And after that, I'm going to go right back into fantasy. The Eyes of the Dragon. And all I can tell you about this novel is that it was written for his daughter. So it acts like a children's storybook. But I'm going to read the back of this. Thus begins one of the most unique tales that master storyteller Stephen King has ever written. A captivating fantasy of dark magic and the struggle for absolute power that utterly transforms the destinies of two brothers born into royalty. Through this enthralling masterpiece of mythical adventure, intrigue, and terror, readers will thrill to this unforgettable narrative filled with relentless, wicked enchantment and the most terrible of secrets. So, I heard that this has very strong ties to the Dark Tower. So, pretty excited to get into this when I get to it. But there are a ton of pictures in here that I'd like to show off. And I think there is actually yeah, that's the picture I wanted to show. So, literally just a YA fantasy novel. Why not? So, those are my thoughts on the Wastelands and two of my next Stephen King reads. After those two, I'm back into the Dark Tower. Thousands of pages of the Dark Tower. Help me. But I'm hoping to at least get to Wizard and Glass no later than probably June or July. And that's the longest in the series. I can't wait to show you how long that thing is. So we'll see when I get there, but I'm going to leave it at that. And my next video, more than likely, will be my review for The Monkey. But it also depends on the weather because we're having a little bit of snow coming in today and into tomorrow. But I'm hoping that I'll probably see The Monkey on Friday. But anyway, that's my next video up. And if you like this sort of content, I strongly advise you to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will put a playlist that features the Dark Tower reviews at the end of the video. And I think I will go ahead and probably do a whole Stephen King playlist that I'll make up. So if you're interested in Stephen King, you'll definitely get some content. But otherwise, that's all I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Adios. Peace.